stock is so down. You're looking now at, in my opinion, you're looking at it's on cable now. I think that Sunday Night Football and Thursday Night Football being on the networks have overtaken what Monday Night Football used to be. I mean, certainly way back in the 70s and really even into the 80s or so. But the heyday will always be, Gift, Andy, Don, and Cosell. Arguably also when Karras was there. But, whether you aligned yourself with Cosell, whether you aligned yourself with Meredith, that was the big thing back then. I do think there is a chance for that to happen again, and I'll tell you what. But anyway, Peyton Manning said to be the favorite for the Monday Night Football booth, joining Sean McDonough. I don't know. I do understand why that would be, a prestigious job for him. But I mean, we are all hearing that Manning wants to get into NFL ownership. Does he find this to be a pathway, or even helping his own branding out to later become, to do whatever PR he needs to become an owner, high-ranking executive, somewhere? I don't know. It's one of the reasons I'm a little skeptical that he will. But then again, if he is the color commentator, look what it did with John Gruden. Well, John Gruden, say what you will, but I know he wins a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay and such, but John Gruden is not Bill Belichick. John Gruden is not, Paul Brown here. John Gruden is a guy who won a Super Bowl, which is really, it's decent, but high. John Gruden, meet Don McCafferty. You know who he is? It's kind of the way, he left the Raiders Bill Cunningham, and I realized he had a turnkey team, and they fell in the tank the year afterwards. But it's a circumstance there where it was Bill Callahan that took the Raiders to the Super Bowl, not Gruden. Of course, Gruden beat Callahan's Raiders in the Super Bowl. That's pretty big. But then what happened to the Bucs after that? What happened to the Bucs? They had a slow descent as well. Anyway, Manning, I said this before last week during a media watch. If you were going to do that, Manning, this would obviously help his brand out in doing ads. You looked at John Gruden, and he was doing all kinds for beer and Hooters and all kinds of ads. John Gruden, from being the Monday Night Football broadcaster. So Manning would have that. Manning also, his star power would likely help the Monday Night Football brand, which I doubt will exist after 2021, by the way. That's when ESPN's contract is up. And then I think the NFL just sort of reassesses itself and says, well, look, do we want to continue to have ESPN? Do we want to continue to pay $2 billion to ESPN, and having them put out, dramas that make us look less than receptive? And, the ESPN-NFL relationship, always a little testy. Or do we want to take on the brand of ESPN ourselves with our own NFL network? And I think that that's the way that they'll go, and put that $1.9 billion that they're giving the ESPN and instead reinforcing it with their own network. Now, it'll be all football all the time. That's fine. But there are a lot of people who just want all football all the time and aren't necessarily all that concerned about the NBA. Or whatever, or whatever else the ESPN has. There are fewer baseball games, it seems to me, on ESPN than in years gone by. Anyway, something to look for. But if it is Manning in the booth and they do decide to go with a 3-man booth, I have no inside knowledge, but speculation here. Total speculation. I could easily see, and I mentioned this last week, Jamel Hill as that third person in the booth, filling kind of the Howard Cosell role. The journalist, outspoken, also, though, an attractive woman and a minority. Perhaps that shouldn't count. It does. But also you would have Manning's Heartland appeal being counterbalanced by a person from Detroit, a person who has no problem presenting that urban shtick, if you will, just like Meredith was supposedly for the Heartland appeal, Cosell was for the urban appeal, the intellectual, that sort of thing. I could easily see that. Will the NFL sign off on it? That's another thing. Will ESPN? I would think ESPN would. I know they suspended her for 2 weeks, and all this. But, yeah, you would have someone here in Manning who has donated to Bob Corker's campaign. Republican candidates. I guess Corker and Donald Trump don't see eye to eye on some things. You compare that to a broadcaster in the booth looking for healthy friction who has called Donald Trump a white supremacist. I mean, that really is, if you're looking for that, what will they say next on Monday Night Football? That's what it is. Sunday Night Football, you can change the game late in the year. You can make it into a primo contest. Monday Night Football is set. If you've got, who do you think might fall next year in NFL? Well, let's just say this. If you had the Giants because of their market and the Jets, everybody in New York watches that game. But would you watch outside of New York, what's the appeal of that game this year? But if that's what they have on a Monday night game, ESPN has to air it. How do you get everybody else interested in that game? Well, theoretically, and I mean, it's always been the game is the thing, but if you've got drama in the booth, if you've got that personality, if you've got that, going up against each other, that sort of thing, then yeah, you could get people to watch a game which featured two teams that won, 9 games between them this past year. Just throwing out, what potential, because occasionally you'll get turkeys on Monday Night Football or what have you. Anyway, Manning said to be the voice of choice. I'll tell you one guy who a lot of people will think will be the voice of choice for Tennessee fans. It's their new defensive coordinator, Kevin Sherrer. I mentioned this on Marky's monologue. Here's a guy who's got to figure out how his linebackers can rush the passer in tonight's game against Alabama. But instead, he's tweeting out this weekend, this Saturday, "It's a great day to be a Vol." He's still a Bulldog. It's one of the reasons I'm picking Alabama. Is this guy, really considering where he is right now. In fact, if I was Kirby Smart, I might just say, because by this time I got to think, look, if my linebackers don't have it, they're not going to get it. And for that matter, it's my coordinator. And from that matter, I got to sign off on anything. And I'm an old defensive guy. Maybe it's that point you say, look, if it's so great to be involved, then you know what? Go there. Go there now. Yeah, no, we don't need you right here. Hey, look, Nick Saban did that to Lane Kiffin last year, and while I do realize Clemson won the ball game, they won it by 1 second. How many of you really think that Clemson won the game last year because Lane Kiffin wasn't on the sideline? How many of you think it was because Clemson had Deshaun Watson and Hunter Renfrow? Yeah, that would be me right here. That's what I'm going with. There's some guys here coming. Actually, the Twitter handle now that the new defensive coordinator in a couple of days for Tennessee, Kevin Sherrer. And I mean, this possibly is a nice thing for Tennessee fan. I mean, you got to be happy. I got to tell you, your defensive coordinator coming from Georgia and your head coach coming from Alabama, when you consider who's playing in the national championship game, I do think you've got to worry if Derek Dooley is successful in Missouri, what that means for Tennessee football. But here we go. We got a guy named Ray Fulcher commenting on this on Twitter. It's a great day to be a Vol when you're the linebackers coach of Georgia and playing for a national title. Nothing like working for one job and promoting another. You're better than that. Tennessee fan. Now, this is an interesting concept. There's a guy here, and he goes by Lou Brown. It's a fictitious handle. He's going under an alias. Lou Brown was the manager of the Cleveland Indians in Major League, and he's got that picture as his avatar. All this. And Lou Brown says, I know you already know this, but Tennessee is a much better program in all aspects than Georgia. Tennessee has better facilities, better history, traditions, more wins and championships. Don't be mad at a man for taking a vertical job. Now, I don't agree with that at all. Facility? Tennessee has 10,000 more nosebleed seats. Nobody goes to a school because of nosebleed seats. It's one of the 18 undeniable truths of Billson on sports. Tennessee has better history. Actually, Georgia, Tennessee, it's 23-22 Tennessee. Now, is that tremendous history? I mean, take that for what it is. But you're telling me Tennessee is a better program because of 1939. Nobody is going to, No, this is a what have you done for me lately business. By this token, Yale is a better program than Tennessee. No. Yale has a tremendous football history. It's one of the best in all of the country. Fortunately, not a whole lot done, in the last 50 years or so. Tradition, you think you're going to get a recruit because you play Rocky Top and not the Battle Hymn of the Republic or vice versa? You're crazy. More wins and championships. Again, you're telling me, by this token, Pitt has a better program than Tennessee. They have 9 national championships, and Tennessee Tennessee has 2, but they like to claim 6. So if we're going by claimed, So why isn't that a better program? Really? Why? You got better players in Pennsylvania than you did Tennessee. I mean, if you look at the numbers. So why isn't that the case? This is a Tennessee fan, one of them just living in the past. Haven't won the division in 10 years. You cannot look at the... And a guy is going from linebackers coach to defensive coordinator, too. I mean, remember that. That's where the next tweeter comes in on the sure, great day to be a Vol tweet. Tennessee fans live in a mythical past and hope for an impossible future. They're the Al Bundy of college football, which is probably true until the players are paid. Then Tennessee would have a tremendous advantage over just about everybody. So now some people, Lou Brown continues to talk about 1939. That's fun. Let's see here. Spirit World Films, which sounds to me like a pretty objective source. Sorry, but it's unacceptable to tweet out when you're still a Georgia coach 2 days before the national championship. If that's how you feel, then you should go ahead and be a Vol. That's what I think Kirby Smart should do right now. And that would be great for Tennessee to get your coach that much sooner. But yeah, I mean, I'm the guy, and I talk about how Chattanooga is now struggling. David Blackburn was so campaigning for the Tennessee AD job that if I was the Chattanooga president, I would have just said, you know what? Mox beat the Vols on the hardwood this past year. You want to be the Tennessee AD so badly, go ahead. Yeah, go campaign for that full time. But you're not insulting my program, even if in the grand hierarchy I realize that Tennessee is up here and Chattanooga's down here. We're both Division I. Ultimately, we're going to compete for a lot of different things. Recruits, students, money from Nashville, games on the court and on the field. So if that's where you want to be, by all means, go there. I mean, that's what I would have done. And I think that that's one of the reasons why Chattanooga has fallen in. I thought that the hire of Tom Arth, Peyton Manning's old backup quarterback, as much as Gene Henley told us on here, well, Peyton Manning had very little to do with the Chattanooga hire. It looked like something that would appease Manning, and therefore Blackburn thinking this will make me that much better of a coach or of a candidate for the UT job, which he never got. And frankly, he was hiring a D3 coach, someone who doesn't recruit, for a job that has 63 scholarships. Now you think about that. 0 scholarships to 63. You're bringing in a D3 coach? I don't think there was another FCS program in the country that brought in a D3 coach to be their head coach. You can check that out, but I don't think there was any of them. So, another guy to UT tradition. Sure has received an offer that increases his pay and his title, and it's a good thing for him and his family. But for him to expect 100% from his current players in the biggest games of their life, he owes them 100% as well, and his tweet said otherwise. Yeah, I agree with that. Too early, man. Who's paying those bills today? These are tweets to Kevin Sherr, who tweeted out while he was still at Georgia, it's a great day to be a Vol. He's going to be the new defensive coordinator here. Unprofessional coach. Yeah. I mean, no, I think so. I wish you the best of luck, but you got 2 days left as a dog. I wish you the best in your new position, but this really was an ill-timed tweet. UT fans, the Bulldog salty tears are the perfect lube. We get that. Yeah. What a letdown to these young guys whom you've coached the last several years to tweet this, really, says a Georgia fan by the name of Steven Shadrick. You're an awesome coach, but what a pathetic stunt to pull it this time. So that you get the gist here right now, what some people are saying, and I got to agree with it. I really do. I'm of the opinion that, you got to be focused right now on winning the national title. That's what you're hired to do. And if I was Kirby Smart after that, I would have called you in that night and say, hey, here's your ticket. Thanks for everything. Yeah, you've been communicating with me and the defensive coordinator what your scheme is. We can take it from here. Yeah, go to Knoxville. Get 2 days head start because that's where you want to be. That's what I would have done. Absolutely. Anyway, if there is one shortfalling to Kirby Smart, that would be what it is. I think Kirby Smart is going to build the best football program in the SEC. I do think Alabama will win today, 25-21. But the future, I think, is a little brighter for Georgia. But I would have made it, hey, this is it. Great day to be a Vol maybe on Tuesday, but right now on Saturday, you better be thinking it's a great day to be a Bulldog. I would not have put up with that. Anyway, some real quick notes here before we go to our final break. And I did tell you I want to give you my take on the new coaches at Tennessee, and I'm going to do that in the next segment. But Richie Incognito, the big talk there that he may have used some racial slurs in the ball game, the Bills-Jacksonville ball game. I really want that proven, and I know what Incognito's past is, but here's the deal. Are you really, if you on your own team and you've got African-American teammates, an African-American quarterback you're blocking for, why would you use racial slurs against the other team when they would be just as damaging to your team as the other one? I really want that one, and I know what Incognito's past is and all that, but I really want that to be proven. It does sound, why would you say this after the possibly you didn't like the way, you get into a big game against Incognito. He really, gives you some cheap shots during the game. You want to try to drive him out of the league. He's got this past. It's not going to do him any favors. And in a situation, two things that we've learned. We know this in situations of race and in situations of sexual harassment. Oftentimes you're guilty and you must be proven innocent. So my guess is that's the card that the player on the Jaguars is using. I could be wrong. It's total speculation. Incognito may have said this, in which case he is the biggest knucklehead in the world, but a lot of people thought that already. Tri-City. The other thing that I wanted to mention, Charles Woodson, College Football Hall of Fame. We wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'll get to that in the next segment. I'll leave you with that. The bombshell article on the Pats. You heard the top of the hour sportscast, Bill Belichick saying, I'll be back here next year. Mike Florio said there's a 100% chance that Belichick would return to the Patriots. But you know what? If there is one way that the Pats can be derailed to the Super Bowl this year, don't be surprised if this is the way. Internal conflict within, magazine article stirs the pot. Now, then again, the New York Yankees back in the day won a couple of world championships with articles like this coming out every day. So, how much of a distraction is it, really? Well, it's debatable. They're saying, hey, everything's fine in here. We know that Brady's trainer was banned from practices, and looks like there's something. On the other hand, like I said, Brady has always been able to keep it above here. He's been able to be the professional on the field, even if he is being put down off of it and in the locker room. So perhaps it's much to do about nothing. But the thing is, it's now all out in the open. So what effect that'll have? But here we go. Just wanted to point this out. Right now, with the NFL matchups, just some thoughts here real quick. Talking a lot about Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. Of course, the Jaguars went to Pittsburgh earlier this year, beat them by 3 touchdowns. For ETSU fans, good news for you. Leonard Fournette had a 90-yard touchdown run. That's the longest run in the history of Heinz Field. The previous mark was held by David Priestley, a Pitt quarterback who ran 85 yards against ETSU in the first college game at Heinz Field. It actually also was the first drive the Panthers ever had, but did that against ETSU. I covered that game, actually, for Bristol newspaper and Elizabethan newspaper, too. I did it simultaneously because I'm that good. And I would point this out as well. So that's, relief for ETSU. They no longer they have the college indignation, but they don't have the all-time, all football, longest run at Heinz Field giving up now for ETSU. That now goes to the Steelers, and Leonard Fournette has the longest run in the history of the stadium. So there you go. Johnson City can walk a little bit prouder now and all that. But the one thing I do want to say, I don't know what kind of factor it is. Maybe it actually helps the Jaguars out because they're not going to throw their way to a victory against the Steelers. But it's going to be 21 degrees in Pittsburgh on Sunday. Team from Florida against a team from Pittsburgh. I've seen the Steelers lose cold weather games. I've seen them lose snow-covered games to the Dolphins and, for that matter, the dome-covered Houston Oilers. But you would think that would be, if there was any advantage, maybe. But again, you'd think that would help a running team, wouldn't it? And that's what the Jaguars are. Okay. So that's one take. Another take, I'm looking at these playoffs, and I am saying the team right now that I think may have the least chance to win the Super Bowl, the Eagles with Nick Foles. Falcons are the favorite in that game. I'm inclined to believe right now, my gut tells me they'll win it. Finally, Vikings and Saints. This might be where the run for the Saints ends. The Vikings defense is so good. I'm going to talk about Chase Keenum tomorrow. He is so underrated. And not perhaps it's teams right now in the playoffs. I mean, in the NFC, all the teams combined have won a grand total of 1 Super Bowl in their history. Saints in 2010, when they picked off Peyton Manning, right? But, in a way, I think that's a little refreshing. Newcomers, people will say it hurts the ratings, but I don't know. I find that it's hard to root against Drew Brees, and I have a tough time believing he won't be a drawing card. But that's going to be a real tough task for him because that defense is just aces that the Vikings have. We'll be breaking down the games a little bit more. I want to tell you about the new Tennessee coaches when we come back on Tri-City Sports Now.
squeaky toy, and I've got one job, getting chomped on by this little ankle sniffer. So pardon me for feeling inept compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like while I'm getting slobbered on, Geico is creating cool technology like their mobile app, which lets people pay their bills or file a claim. Plus, Geico is the fastest growing auto insurer for the last 10 years. Is it too much for me to ask for one more feature? Fast and friendly claim service like Geico, maybe? Oh, great. I'm getting buried again.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I'd like kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay.